No mechanical device has a will of its own, and guns never go off unless somebody causes them to do so. The wound delivered by a bullet can be fatal, so you cannot expect to learn by experience. If you memorize the 4 principles of firearm safety and follow them without fail, you will never have a mishap with a gun. Pay attention.
I'm going to show you the 4 safety rules which will absolutely prevent difficulty. If you learn what we're going to cover right now, and learn it well, and never violate it, you absolutely cannot have a mishap with your pistol. It's as simple as that. The 4 general rules go forever, not just here, but for the rest of your life.
Rule number 1, all guns are always loaded.
Treat all guns as if they were loaded. I do not approve of that. All guns are always loaded. And if you don't believe it, you're going to be in trouble. Now, you saw when I started teaching this morning that I took the round out of the breech of my pistol. It's over there, so I can assume that it's not where it should be, but something might have happened. So before I do anything else, I check it before I work with it. Now, when it's in my hands, and I have just looked in the breech, at that point, I can practice with it. But as soon as it goes back into the holster, it's hot again. Now, this is a matter of illusion, you see, because guns can be loaded or unloaded, but don't ever assume that. I hope that nobody in this class will ever again tell anyone he knows that his pistol is either loaded or unloaded, because it's a statement you completely disregard. If you tell me your pistol is loaded, I'll say, well, why wouldn't it be? It's like telling me you have gas in your car. If you tell me the weapon is unloaded, I'm going to say, I don't believe you. And if I tell you that mine is unloaded, don't believe me. If you don't know how to check a weapon, find out before you start messing with it. If you take a weapon from someone who has just checked it, you check it again. If I take this pistol, take the magazine out, check the chamber, and hand it to you, you check it. Don't take my word for it. Don't trust me, and don't trust anyone. And I won't trust you, and all will be well.
Rule number 2, never let the muzzle cover anything you are not willing to destroy.
This is the muzzle. That means don't point it unless you're willing to kill. Now, we don't like the term shoot to kill because defensive pistol is used to stop. But if you have to stop an adversary, your need must be so great that you don't care whether he lives or not. So if you point a pistol at somebody, you are announcing that you are willing to kill him. Not necessarily going to, but quite willing to. And if anybody ever points his pistol at you, you're going to take it that way. Never let your muzzle cover anything you are not willing to destroy. These people figure they can have a safe SWAT drill. So they get a whole bunch of guys all charging around a house, all presumably loaded with blanks, except one of them wasn't. Death. Your training systems are not important enough for you to violate these safety principles. I said, oh, well, the training won't be realistic if we're losing blanks if we don't point them at each other. Don't do it. Sooner or later, you're going to kill somebody. And that just happened this year.
Rule number 3, keep your finger off the trigger till your sights are on the target.
This is a fairly new one in the pantheon, or whatever, the doctrine. You don't see it 5 years ago. But we study these things, and over the past 5 years, I would say that 80% of the nasty mishaps that have come to my attention with firearms were caused by violation of that one. You can't see a picture of a thriller, you know, Schwarzenegger or Stallone or somebody without having him looking like this, and like this, and like this, and like this. You don't do that. This finger is connected to that. And as long as you can't see that, you keep your finger there. With the Colt and the Browning, you can put your finger on that button and feel it. So wherever your pistol is, your finger is there until you see that, and then you take the slack out. When you see the front sight, you take out the slack. And as soon as you can't see the front sight, your finger goes straight again. The trouble with this, the obstacle here, is that the human hand is conditioned to work like that. You know, your baby will grab your finger like that. And you have to get here this week in the habit of keeping this finger disconnected from those. Important for safety reasons and important for trigger control, because if you try to fire by closing your hand, you're going to be in trouble. You've got to keep that finger straight. Keep that finger straight until you can see your sights, and don't do anything else. Now, we'll show you tomorrow when you come up on the stroke that your finger enters the trigger guard right there. But that's a continuous flowing motion, and by the time you've touched it, you can see your sights. So, when you're on target, your finger is on the trigger. When you're not on target, your finger is straight. The stroke. Ready? Sit. Down. Sit. Down.
Rule number 4, identify your target. Be sure of your target.
You know what you're shooting at. You never shoot at a sound. You never shoot at a rustling noise. You never shoot at a silhouette, a shadow, or something behind a screen. You only shoot if you know what you're shooting at. That may put your life in danger, yes, but shooting at someone is not just kind of a scare tactic. It kills. Or you don't say, there's somebody outside, let's throw a few shots out there and see if we can run him off. Wrong answer. You may run him off, but it also might be your son. So make sure, not only make sure of what you're shooting at, but make sure of what's on the other side and around it. Now, if you shoot properly, you won't miss, and your bullet will be so heavily involved with the target that it won't be too terribly dangerous on the other side. But in any case, whenever you see a target, take a quick thought in your mind, what's on the other side, so that you're not hazarding things out there. And this, of course, also involves the silhouettes on a hill. If you see an enemy who is on that ridge, be sure of what you're going to do now, because if just over the other side of that ridge and down in there is your base camp, you have to make certain judgments at that point. I say again, if you're careful with shooting and you hit your target, what happens beyond your target is not going to matter too much. But those are your 4 rules, and those apply always. Those are permanent. They apply yesterday, today, tomorrow, and forever. If you make those rules a part of your personality and make sure that you don't ever make a slip, ever, I'm talking about 100% functioning, you can't have a mishap. It won't happen. And that takes care of that. And that's all we have to know.